Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Arsyad Mahfudzi from PBID, North American Indians. The first people to live in North America were the American Indians, or Native Americans, according to religious and folk stories of many Indian groups. Their earliest ancestors arrived in North America from the inside of the earth. Modern scientists, however, believe that the inside of earth, first Native Americans came from Asia. 50,000 to 80,000 years ago, across Bering Strait from Siberia to Alaska. They were nomads, that is, they did not live in one place, but instead were always on the move as they looked for food. In other words, the first American Indians were hunters who followed the animals of their food source during times of migration from the place to place. Together, the nomadic people and animals slowly migrated toward the south. These early inhabitants spread out all over the North American continent, now Canada, the United States, and Mexico. There was a great variety of language, religious beliefs, and customs among the many tribes or groups of Indians. By the time the first Europeans arrived, the Indians were living in several different cultural areas. The members of various tribes in each center of culture had frequent contact with one another and shared similar characteristics, but they didn't have much in common with tribes in other cultural areas. For example, the Pima and Papago tribes of the southwestern desert had similar customs and habits, but their lifestyle was completely different from that of the Sioux who live on the plains, the Apaches in the southwest, and the Quaquil and Tlingit on the northwest coast. Are the Natchez and Tonkawas on the Gulf Coast and in Florida. See the lifestyle of the people who live in each cultural area reflected the geography of that area. The inhabitants of the northwest coast, now British Columbia, Canada, live by hunting and fishing, but they didn't lead a nomadic life. They didn't need to follow animals from place to place because they could take advantage of the resources where they were living. The oceans and rivers produced salmon, halibut, and many other fish. The forests were rich in animal life. They offered deer, elk, and bear, as well as smaller animals in the forest, and the habitants could also find berries to eat and wood for boats, furniture, and houses. Geography influenced other areas of life too. Hunting was seasonal work. Based in the summer, therefore, the tribe members were very busy at certain times of year, but in other seasons they had the opportunity to spend time in creative activities such as woodworking, an art form for which the Northwest Coast Indians become well known. Unlike the inhabitants of the Northwest Coast, the Indian of the eastern plains had an agricultural society. They live in farming communities and raise crops of corn, beans, squash, and tobacco. The members of these tribes live differently from those in the northwest because there were so few trees on the flatlands. Their houses were of earth instead of wood. While the food was growing, the people stayed in their communities. Yet after the harvest, when they had brought in the crops, the Indians rode west on horses they had gotten from Spanish farmers to hunt buffalo. During the month when they were looking for buffalo, the lifestyle of the hunters was similar to that of the nomadic tribes on the western plains. To these plains Indians, on both eastern and western, the buffalo was very important. It provided many necessities: meat, skin for tipis, house of that people could carry, clothing and materials for spoon, bags, and bed. The buffalo hunt was also central to many artistic, social, and religious activities. When Europeans arrived on the North American continent several hundred years ago, the Native Americans' old way of life began to change. The differences between Europeans and Indians' values soon led to different difficulties. As the whites moved west, they took over more and more of the land for themselves. Native Americans lost not only their land but also their lives to widespread wars and to sickness that were non-existent in North America before the Europeans came. But they had lost something even more important: their sense of identity. With the Plains Indians, for instance, lost their hunting ground, and when the buffalo became almost extinct, the most important characteristic of their society, the buffalo hunt, was gone. Even today, although some Native Americans live in urban areas, many live in reservations, land that the government set aside for them. Some tribes have held on to the language and ancient custom of their ancestors, while others in general have forgotten the old ways. Although some groups are relatively wealthy, most are very poor and have had to receive help from the government. In recent years, many tribes have begun to regain their sense of identity and their cultural heritage. They have having wars once again, this time in court, where they have succeeded in several legacy battles. They are fighting to win back their land and their fishing and hunting rights, the basis of their ancestors' ways of life. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.